Yo, the kids official sliding on the instrumental. Nordic combos, twist your mental like forbidden.
Peace to the public and power to the people. It is our great pleasure to bring you for another week this space where the vulnerable are powerful and where the most gangster thing you can do is serve. This is All the Way Live.
Hey man, 101 episodes in, All the Way Live show. My brother and I come again here to the show to give you all that carefully curated content for your cranium. It's an absolute pleasure for everyone who's joining us. It's an absolute pleasure for everyone to keep supporting us through this. 101 feels like we're just getting started, and there's so much more to come. And we do all of this for a host of reasons, but none more important than the fact that we know exactly how hard it is out here, man. Depression's at an all-time high. Suicide's at an all-time high. Loneliness is at an all-time high. So what we try and do is curate that positive energy that we bring to this show for y'all to come through, take a bit. This is one of those shows that is as much for me as it is for who we're doing it for. So absolutely appreciative of the space. We're going to be talking that real talk.
Because we care, right? And where we bring this to you from is the UK. Shout out to our boy Hassan on the boards.
Yep.
Yeah, our producer. Can't do this thing without him.
Oh man.
Shout out to you. You know what I'm saying? South Africa is in the building in a big way. You know what I'm saying?
Baby, I'm coming home.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And I'm sure there's a myriad of folks that are going to be happy to have you back. It's hard for us to let you go, but
that's cap. You can't wait for me to get out of
that's
here.
not true at all. that's cap. Yeah, you know that. You know that, man. It's been, you've brought such a warmth to this space, a warmth to my face, my glow.
Whoa, what you talking about?
Oh, come on, I'm gonna get that. You know what I'm saying? But for real, like from up in the health to up in the quality of the show, it's been amazing to have you here. So
Appreciate that, brother.
it's been amazing to have you in the building. It's been amazing to have South Africa in this building, have Joburg in this building, Cape Town in this building. So salute to you as you make your way home.
Appreciate you, man.
And the land that it's difficult to let you go from.
Tell me about it.
Is this land right here in Chicago. This podcast for the last few weeks has all the way been recorded on stolen land. Yeah. This land was cared for by the Potawatomi people, the Council of the Three Fires, and the violence done to remove those First Nations people from this land is inseparable from the violence that we see in the city, the violence that we see in this country, and the violence that we see in this world today, the violence that we confront. And in confronting that violence, we lift up love between Black and brown people the world over. Mm-hmm. We lift up love for Indigenous people the world over, that history that connects all of us. And that's how we end the intro. Let's get into the show.
Yo, no one does it like you. No one does it like you. That land intro,
amen.
That land acknowledgement,
it's important, man. It's important. It's an important part of the community that we're trying to build, the community that we're trying to support. Shout out to the Chi Nations Youth Council, Black and brown, lifting it up.
It was really cool to see, and we went to a play together that was hosted by the Chicago Park District, celebrating 1919, Evel Ewing's poetry book about the year 1919. And so when we got there, the event coordinator was a white lady, and she was like, before we start, we just want to do a land acknowledgement. So it was really cool to see the fact that you brought something that people who are active in this city are doing to acknowledge the land. I think that's pretty dope.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that acknowledgement is important because there's been harm done to our communities, to those communities through colonialism, through the way that, the power structures in this country operate. And it's important to call that out, not only the way that it happens and the results that we see in real time, but also like the history that led to that. We can't move forward without acknowledging that history. That's why we acknowledge it every week on the show before we get into the topics that are affecting us today. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate you appreciating that with me.
Yeah. Hey man, listen, we ain't gotta talk too much about it. A whole lot to get into. Producer.
Yeah, I get that, but is we live though? Is we like all the way live though? You heard?
Stage.
Well,
Yeah.
the curtain parts, the crowd stands still. How will the boys round the year up?
I mean, I think because after 101 episodes, undoubtedly, from how the show started to where it is now, we brought in a structure that allows us to speak about a whole bunch of things. So through 52 episodes this year, we only missed 2 episodes this year.
Shout out to that.
Yeah,
Air horns in the building, applause.
Yeah,
Shout
yeah.
out to y'all for tuning into that.
That's pretty cool. I'd like to think.
Nice.
So we've covered a lot.
Yeah.
And this particular segment, we brought in the Impact Spotlight segment or the Artist Spotlight segment. We highlighted some of the coolest artists that we've seen. We just invited a new one, Emily,
Yeah.
who we're gonna invite into. So we've been using this space in a cool way. We wanted to highlight the top artists.
The top artists
Is that how we want?
and the top impacts, the top activists, organizers, collaborators, creative thinkers that we've had in this space. Yeah, absolutely, man. Like from the jump, shout out my homie Lime, man, for coming in talking about his mental health awareness bracelets.
Yes,
You know what I'm
our
saying?
first guest actually on that segment.
It was, right?
Yeah, thank you,
man.
Delonte.
No doubt, man. Shout out to Lil coming in, helping us navigate the conversation about abortion around the overturning of Roe v. Wade. You know what I'm saying? Like just bringing us some informative content to deal with that moment. Shout out to Cornel, Footprint Positive.
Footprint Positive, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Footprint Positive was is a program to offset carbon emissions from cars through the planting of trees. So yeah, man, if you're concerned about climate change, which we are, we've covered it many times on this show. Footprint Positive is a way to offset that and that's what we love about like being able to give something active that people can do. You can go do that. Log on Footprint Positive right now.
You pretty much take your license plate. If you're in the UK, you take your license plate and you enter it into the Footprint Positive site. And then from there, they're able to help you offset your carbon emissions. So it's really cool. And I think the common thread through all these people is that those have been friends, those have been family. And there was a point where we looked around at all the talented people that are in our network and we're like, yo, let's have this show be a platform where we can at least share that information with people. So it is cool that Cornel is such a good friend and a brother in business. And then Leilani, that's your partner, you know what I mean? And then Delonte, that's both of our friends. And a few other people too, you know, through the artistic side, we had Salai who came through, who's a very close friend of our producer. Big Cousin, another hookup.
What's that Big Cuz track you was playing the other
Word
day?
to my dogs. Word to my dogs. Yo, Big Cousin snapped on that Word to my dogs.
Go check out that Word to My Dogs, man. Shout out to Cuzzo.
Word to my dogs, Big Cousin. Who else did we have on the show, man? Black Emojis.
Yeah,
He's been
Lonnie.
supplying us with so much art throughout the time, you know?
Yeah. Our homie Will, speaking of actionable information, came in to talk to us about his kind of fitness journey and his kind of venturing out to showcase that to other folks and have other people join him on that journey. Some dope stuff, man.
A whole lot of people. It would be it's going to be interesting to see how we take the show going forward from the artistic side, especially the direction that we want to go into. How do we want to increase the experience for people? So it's looking at it from an artistic perspective. There's so much work to be done, and we're not really sure what it's going to turn out as, but it's fun so far.
Yeah, super fun, and like really dope too. Like just bringing it back to Big Cousin, man. Listening to his music, really connecting with it, and then finding that energy that you can appreciate when you interact with that person, right? Like I think being able to showcase that for people that are gonna discover later. Like I can't wait for Big Cuzzo's fans to go and find the All the Way Live interview because it's gonna be unlike any other way that they've seen that. And I think that's what's so dope about this segment is it's a way for us to showcase people that are doing amazing things in a way that highlights how dope what they're doing is, but also showcases how dope they are as people and their personalities and how easily we all could be in a room having a conversation about what they do, but just about life too.
One of the cool things is that I'm encountering more people who are fighting between what they're doing as an occupation and their artistic side. And it's either sometimes people go, I have no artistic side, or they're in a role that they feel kind of diminishes that and doesn't allow them to express that. And through all these people that we have spoken about, and why we put the impact segment next to the art segment, is that I think we're all artistic in our own right, and it's kind of a function of finding out what that you're doing allows you to be artistic. So one of the people we spoke to yesterday, Emily, she was saying that she takes photographs of cells. So they'll cut a cell and then they'll take an image of it. But it's a huge doctoral process. But at the end of it, this artistic thing comes out.
Super artistic. The images that she was able to give us a sneak preview of are amazing. And I think really ground science and the how beautiful it is. You know what I mean? And I think that's dope for us to be able to share with our audience. And that's something that I definitely hope to get her permission to share with some of the youth and the students that I work with. Like, this is what a scientist does. Look how dope this is and how beautiful it is, you know?
Yeah. Now, I have to ask you,
what's good?
Black Lives Matter. We also spotlighted them at some point. And where we are now with Black Lives Matter.
Did we spotlight Black Lives Matter, the organization?
We did cover Black Lives Matter.
But Black Lives Matter is a movement and it's also an organization.
As an organization, we covered it as an organization.
Are you sure?
Not on the arts, not in the impact spotlight, but we definitely did. And why that's pretty interesting is because that's one of those cases where we're seeing a movement get criticized and then seeing that there's actually a bit of fraud that was within the Black Lives Matter movement. So,
well, hold on. I want to be careful with the movement versus the organization.
The organization, sorry.
You feel me? Like there's a movement that is bigger than the organization, but the organization drew upon the name of the movement, and I even might have been part of the people responsible for creating the name originally.
You?
No, what? Me?
I thought you said you might have been.
No, the people that got in trouble eventually within the organization.
Okay, yes.
I think might have even been responsible for creating the name initially.
Yeah.
But the name grew to be something so much bigger than the organization, which was collecting donations that had landed in questionable places, right? So I think it's really dope to be able to look back at the show and to be able to go to see how stories develop, to see how our perspective changes, and to see how, things are complicated. And I'm glad that we have this space to talk through things, to work things out in real time, but to also make space for things that have no easy answers, to make space for being wrong. You know what I mean? I think this has been a really important space for me to, even as an organizer, to create a teachable moment for myself from those type of things.
Yeah, it would be good to see us call each other out more on things that we're wrong about, and that's something that we do behind the scenes, and it's have these very difficult conversations of I think you're wrong, and like kind of getting to it. It would be great to encompass that in part of the discussions,
all the way down. More capitalism segments coming soon.
Do you think you're still do you not see the value in capitalism the way that I've expressed it?
I think that's a whole segment in itself. I think that viewing capitalism with a critical lens does not mean that I don't see value in it.
Okay. I like that.
But I whether or not it should be the dominant way that we allocate resources and opportunity, I don't know if I agree with that. So yeah, I definitely have a critical lens. I know your lens is more supportive, and so I think that's fertile ground for those types of conversations, bringing more facts into those conversations, inviting more audience perspective into all that too.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue into the current news, top stories of the current news.
Yes, sir.
Where we get to dive deep into some of the things that we have spoken about over the years that, like the Black Lives Matter chat, that were the most impactful, I guess you can say. Is there anything else that we're leaving out of the impact spotlights and artistic spotlights?
No, man, just shout out to everybody who's taken the time to be a part of the show. And shout out to all our future guests. So if you're doing anything artistic, creative, making an impact in your community, reach out to us. We would love to talk with you and to let you talk about what you do.
Can't wait. Let's get into it.
Mic check. That's not good. That's not what we want. Technical difficulties while we try to restore our visual accoutrement. You know what I'm saying? But so top stories of the year, man. I can't believe we're already in December. But here we are. And I guess me and Zway just really wanted to sit and talk through some of the things that have been most impactful, some of the stories that, you know, have developed over the months since we've covered them, but also some of the stories that have challenged us as whatever we call ourselves covering these topics. You know, people, concerned citizens, residents of the world, you feel me? So as I was looking back, which was really fun, over all the content that we've created and all the different topics that we've covered, one of the ones that stood out, and I even went as deep as to get the episode numbers for people so they can even go back and check these out, right? First one, episode 93, Juvenile and Diabolical, the pretrial fairness law, right? Now, this one was dope for me because it was a local, it was something that was happening in real time. It was something that was confusing in real time. And also being sensationalized in real time, and to be able to have a little bit of fun with the terms like the purge law that were being thrown around, but also to be able to ground it in really defining what this actually means, taking away some of that sensationalism all through a human conversation. I had a really good time with that. Do you remember that combo?
I don't. Can you remind me again?
No doubt. So the pretrial fairness law was basically in the Chicagoland area. There was a law that was going to eliminate cash bail, right? The idea is that if you get arrested for a crime, between the time that you're arrested and between the time that you get your trial that you're entitled to, you are either held in jail or you get to go free. And what determines whether or not you are held in jail or whether you get to go free largely is if you can pay your bail, right?
One of the crazy things about about that situation is that in the US, you realize that most of the people that are held in jail are being held because they can't afford the bail, and how much the actual average bail is. Do you know the number for that?
No.
I think we covered the number. I think it was I think it was like $800, $900 or something. So you think to yourself, most people are unable to get out of jail because of being unable to pay $900. That's tens of thousands of people. What does that say about the environment these people come from? And then also, what does that say about the system that's keeping them there?
No doubt, no doubt. And that's exactly what this law was about, was that system that's keeping them there, right? So we go from this place where, so we're talking about cash bail. People can get out if they can pay their bail. Then there's the idea of eliminating cash bail, which means that whether you get out between the time you're arrested and you go to jail isn't dependent on money. If you can pay your bail, it's dependent on the circumstances of the crime, right? And so, and still, like, certain crimes would still have the cash bail, more serious offenses, but a lot wouldn't. So when they started to take away that measure of cash bail, people were saying, oh, this is a purge law, right? They're saying you're going to have
that's right,
people running you're going to have criminals out on the street, right? Ironically, if they could pay, they would be out anyway, right? So it was a kind of sensationalized way to take this headline that didn't really have a grounding in an understanding of how cash bail works, but it was extremely effective, right? Criminals getting out of jail, call it the purge law, and people took off and ran with it. So again, it was dope to come to this space and to be able to go, that's great, Mark. They got us. That was very strategic. And to be able to acknowledge that, but then also bring it back to, like, what does this actually mean? And what are the ways that eliminating cash bail can actually benefit communities?
It's part of it, like you're saying, is the marketing that went behind it. So when they call it a purge law, it's not actually accurate to say it's a purge law. But it was kind of like quiet quitting, like they had, right? They said quiet quitting was the same thing, where it made it seem like it was where people are leaving their jobs because they're quietly quitting their jobs. But when you actually look at it, it's people saying, no, I'm sticking to only doing exactly what my job requires of me to do. Now, after some time, right? And I have to be honest here. I understand that. I fully understand that. To get to a job and say, I'm only gonna, if it's 9 to 5, I'm just gonna work 9 to 5 and I'm gonna cut it off. That's totally okay. For the work that I'm doing, at this very moment, it only benefits the cause to work with people who don't abide by that. People who are just willing to go above and beyond what is required.
Oh, you work at Twitter.
Are you calling me Elon Musk right now? Is that what
you
did?
run Twitter.
Oh, that you cannot call me Elon Musk. Don't do that.
You don't think that that's exactly his argument and exactly what he's trying to?
And I'm glad you brought that up, right? Because when that happened, I understand. I completely understand. And what I was saying to that is, there are people that will be okay with that. And as the person who is operating that machine, it has to fit you, because at the end of the day, you are responsible for it. So do I agree with what he's saying? No. And I think the difference in how he puts it and how I see it,
It's phrasing.
it's phrasing.
It's phrasing. I wouldn't tweet
And
it.
intention. I wouldn't tweet it. And intention, it would always be, maybe my words would be softer. It's all about packaging.
I feel that. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I have an opinion on whether or not I hear you, right? There are definitely spaces and environments that call for that type of commitment, and where that type of commitment is there to get something like a startup off the ground. But I think people are reevaluating how much they get back from that type of investment, right? What level are you in the company? If you're an owner, maybe that type of commitment makes a huge amount of sense, right? But if somebody else owns the company, right? If somebody else is busting down the dividends and you're lower down in that company, you don't get as much return for that deep investment. And I think that is what kind of can make the difference between me and my homies are willing to kill ourselves to get this off the ground so that we can later run this. And this company that's over me is demanding this because it's good to say I worked here. You know what I mean?
That's fair. So how would you approach a situation like Elon Musk has, where you've got a company?
I wouldn't have bought Twitter in the first damn place. If I was Elon Musk,
that's okay.
I would stay to my lane.
That's okay. I get that. But the more important question is, in business cycles, things go up, things go down, right? The reason why they had to fire people, like we had seen, is that the markets just forced them to do it. So it was overextended. They were overpaying people, not enough people working, not enough people. The production versus the cost was too high. That's just a function of markets. Say you end up in the same situation where you don't have much, and the business is too heavy and the organization is too heavy from a cost perspective, and you need to shrink it, and the people that you shrink it to are the ones that are expected to turn around the momentum that you're in. What's your approach to that?
I mean, I think, again, and I guess my joke in saying I wouldn't have bought Twitter is me saying that the level of business, I can't sit here and pretend from this chair that I have the business acumen to run something like Twitter, right? Myself. But for the sake of the thought experiment, I guess I would say, what does Twitter, for me, we're gonna keep it a whole being, because I am who I am. So we're gonna take a look at, what does Twitter do, right? What does Twitter do really well, right? Is it really great at connecting people? Is it really great at sparking conversations? Is it really great at providing news? And also, okay, as we get to something like news, what does it not do well, right? Does it heighten tensions? Does it continue to stratify and polarize people's opinions? Does it put out fake news? Let's do a SWOT analysis to keep it real simple, right? And as I'm downsizing, I don't know if I'm prioritizing keeping the people that are willing to kill themselves the most for the company, right? Or go far outside, or not put limitations on what the agreement of their commitment is. I think I'm going to look at what are those strengths that I think bring a social good to the world, and who in our company has a skill set to benefit that.
Hold on, and I wanted you to finish your point, but you're still coming at it from if it was Twitter. Forget Twitter. I'm saying whatever organization that you're a man of many hats, right?
Sure.
So there's cost functions in all of them, right? In that situation, what's your approach? Forget the Twitter side, right? Because I understand like there's a world of considerations that come with that.
But so what do you? What's the question? Like if I run a business that's cost constrained, that's not making enough money, what do I do at that point?
And it's over leveraged in how many people it has in it. There's too many. You've hired too many.
I don't think there's anything wrong with firing people, but I think when you're creating a culture of the expectation is that there's no limitation on what you need to give this company and what you will get out of it is that you got to contribute to this company. I think that's a very particular decision about the culture you're trying to create. Obviously, every business, if you are over leveraged in how many people that are on your salary, then you're gonna have to let people go. But there's ways to let people go. There's ways to talk to people as you let people go, to your point about phrasing. But there's also a whole different conversation about creating a culture of expectations that run people ragged.
Yeah. It's I think that because there is a balance, right? There are environments that are very rewarding to people who want to be able to not overextend themselves, but extend themselves past the workload. And would be remiss if we looked
Word. Shout out to the producer.
I love the image. And there's we shouldn't omit the fact that there's a lot of rewards that come with that, right?
If you're in the ownership structure of that organization.
Not just that. There's some organizations like consultancy places or venture capitalist spaces where you eat what you kill. Sales, for instance, is another one, right?
But I think a direct relationship of you eat what you kill versus there's a culture that expects you to push yourself to a certain limit. I think those are two different things, right? You can be a salesperson and still have work-life balance.
Yeah.
Right? But if the expectation is stretch your work-life balance, I think that's a different type of culture.
Yeah.
And I think again that most people that benefit in that type of environment are people that have an ownership stake in that.
Which is why it's so important to make everyone feel like they own something. That's like one of the key things of.
What about actually letting everybody own it?
No, and that's what I mean, right?
Rather than make them feel like they own it, why not give more people an invested piece in the structure? Rather than saying we're willing to pay you just what the market, because we can find another warm body to put in your place, and you're not one of the creative people we deem leadership. Like we're gonna just give you what you're gonna take what we can give you, right? Because somebody's gonna take this job. It's a whole different thing to rather than say make them feel like they own it, give them lots of T-shirts and fanny packs and pens.
Yeah.
But actually say you have a piece of this company, and so collective ownership, and that's a different way, a less actually capitalist way of building and ownership and structuring business.
Yeah, it just gets difficult when people don't understand you can want to do well, right? And that's why when I say make people feel like it, because you can do things that people are unaware of that are benefiting them, but they don't necessarily understand how direct it can be. For instance, you can introduce an employee pool, right? Which is technically, you're reserving that no matter how much this company raises, a certain percentage of that is first and foremost going towards a pool for the employees, and they can either tap into it or it can grow, right? But unless somebody understands what an employee pool, it's gonna mean nothing to them. It's fodder. So the feel elements of it is packaging, right? So that we laugh at it, but things like clothes, things that keep reminding folks like, yo, this is as much of ours as it is yours. And I think one of some of the challenges that I've found out that I'm currently facing is that intention without communication doesn't mean anything. You can have the best intentions and do things, but unless you can actually communicate it and package it in different ways so people can understand it, and it's an ongoing task. You always have to be trying to make sure people can get that. This is good. This is for you. This is ours.
I think something I've learned in my career thus far about helping people to understand, like get that, is that that's a education process more than it is a marketing process. And when you talk about educating people and helping them to understand, become more financially literate within the context of their own situation and their salary and the company that they're working for, you got to make space for that education. And that's to continue talking about stories that we've talked about this year, right? All of the conversations about unionizing at Amazon, unionizing at Tesla, right? These conversations about workers demanding those different types of spaces to care for themselves, to educate themselves about their rights, about their contribution to these companies. And so I love that democratizing of the corporate experience, right? Cool. I wear shirts for my company too, sometimes. But I think I would love to see companies make that space to educate people, and I think, and for companies to not always see it and not operate in ways that makes it against their interest to educate the workforce about the value they bring to the company.
And that's why I enjoy working with you so much, is because you're always trying to see how best the impact can relate to the people, And I think you're right. It should be education courses through and through. That should be ingrained into companies. And one thing that we were covering is how many people got fired, right? We were saying 12,000 people got fired, 11,000 people got fired, that sort of thing. So it's just like, if folks can understand what we demand is what we can get. Especially in the workspace. The reason why so many people got fired is because the demands of what people wanted, granted, got very high. What people were willing to say, this is what I'm going to work for and this is what I'm not going to work for, it became, they were wilding in the Silicon Valley. They were having isolation chambers, they were having chefs, and that's how it happened, right? You have one place that goes, hey, listen, we give you guys a therapist, and you get to work from home. Then Google's like, cool, therapists work from home, and there's a slide that goes to the cafe that's made of gold. And then the wars kept on going to a point where everyone was just demanding, what it took to get people in was high. So we actually don't even know the cost of how much one person working at these places actually is, because the number is just, it keeps going up. All to say that it got there because we made a demand of what we want. We said, we're going to work 4 days a week. We're going to do this and this and this and this. So people that are still working should definitely keep doing that.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt. And every industry is different. And as we head into a recession, it's really looking like it's one of those things where people don't always have a lot of options about where they can work. And they're often taking, the opportunity that provides them the most stability. But I think what all of these news stories capture and show is that know your worth, right? Just know your worth, and you should demand a lot. Maybe not slides, but maybe stocks. maybe. You know what I mean? So, man, just know your worth. We've covered a lot of things, man. Like, some of them, it's been really interesting to stretch my understanding of topics, but some of them have been just like having to come here and really be real about things that are happening in the world. I wanted to shout out one time Mark Fogel. We had a real conversation about him being locked up in Russia as the crisis, as the war and invasion of Russia and Ukraine started to happen. One of your professors at U of I, and so I just
U of I, in Venezuela.
Venezuela, my bad. And so I just wanted to bring that up and to kick it to you to be like, what has it been like to kind of bring some of the more human and closer to home stories to the show?
We're just lucky that we can speak about these things. We're lucky that we have a space where we can come and things like that force us to be honest and talk to each other about our history. They do come up. So with Mark Fogel, and we're looking at this picture here, man. It's free Mark Fogel. Yeah, it's still very sad for sure, but I'm glad we're able to do something about it. That's the best part about this show for me, is that we can see things like this, and then we can put out information, we can cover it, we can share things and that keeps one from feeling overwhelmed by how many things are actually happening in the world, you know, because at the same time, Mark Fogel's there, Brittany Griner's there. I'm sure there's some other people that are there whose families might not have been able to catch enough steam. Sometimes it's the right, it's just timing that, you know, someone having the light shown on them,
Yeah.
the light shown on them can, you know, spotlight somebody else vicariously, and that's something that's happening to Mark Fogel. So the ability to be able to do things about it is very therapeutic.
No doubt, man. No doubt, man. And thank you for, as we say at the beginning of the show, every episode, you know, bringing that vulnerability to this space, you know, bringing that personal connection to some of these stories to this space. And yeah, it is incredible to have this space and be able to do actionable things. I'm thinking of even the flooding in KZN, hearing that was going on so close to home. Shout out the Mandulo team of being like, yo, let's mobilize people to be able to put that content out. And I know we got a few donations even to, you know, help support folks in KZN during that time. So shout out the power of the show. Shout out the power of the listeners. Shout out y'all for rocking with us through all of these different stories and episodes and challenges and headlines. We're just trying to make sense of the world that we confront every day. I'm incredibly blessed to have y'all in support of that and to have my brother here to make sense of the world, man. Appreciate you, dog.
Hey, a lot of this is, you know, a lot of the things that we've covered have the status of what's happening has changed over time, you know, and particularly if we think about the protests that were happening in Iran, where the hijab protests, as they called it, and then, you know, over time now we've seen that, I think it was today, they released that they're going to be banishing the morality police. So congratulations. You know, we all know that in the midst of protesting, a lot of promises are made, and when things are promised and what they end up becoming always, you know, has high potential to not match up. However, even that is a victory. And I think, like, in activism, to keep something up until you get some form of result keeps the movement going, man. So I just wanted to say congratulations to those people, because somebody had to make that happen. There were negotiations that had to happen. People had to sit down, the organizational heads had to be articulate and on point and supportive in the midst of their friends dying, you know. So that's one of those news that, you know, we never want to just leave it dead. We can keep speaking about it.
Yeah, I love what you said about that, man. Keeping the continuity of the show. As we mentioned before, like, you know, stories change. Our understanding of the news as we're interpreting it is dynamic. So thank you for bringing that that update to us, and just in solidarity with event or organizers all over the place, movement makers all over the place, saying like, yo, we want to make sure that all of the wins are as loud as the challenges that we're facing, right? A lot of these headlines get really daunting, so we want to make sure that people get lifted up as they take steps forward, you know, big steps and small steps.
Yep. I don't know if there's anything else we wanted to cover. I know we got quick hits that are coming in shortly. Any other stories?
Nah, man, I'll just let the people know, man. If y'all want to check out that episode, if y'all want to check out the free Mark Fogel episode, that's episode 87, UN Rejection Theory. You dig me?
Great episode.
Another episode that I wanted to highlight that was just a live classic, the F Cars episode, you know what I'm saying? Episode 76, bus passes and basic cable.
Yes.
Check that joint out, you know what I'm saying? We've got a dope catalog that we're building. The quality of the show will continue to increase. The way that we have conversations with each other will continue to grow. So shout out to y'all for being a part of that. Now we get into the part y'all love.
All right, we're back live. This is dope. Quick hits, new segment that we got where our producer takes things that are relevant, happening, and they throw it questions that we haven't seen, and we respond live. Please know that we also take your questions too. So feel free to drop questions in the comments. Quick hits. The first one: toxic air in Bangladesh claimed 88,000 lives in 2019, says World Bank.
Wow, man.
Wow.
That's tough. That's tough. I mean, I guess this air quality thing is real. I guess this environmental thing is real. I guess this sustainability thing is real.
And I know you're saying that tongue in cheek because you've always, been a huge supporter and advocate of being like, yo, this thing is changing. I don't understand what's hard for us to comprehend about if we excrete chemicals into the air, people will die.
I mean, a lot of it is profit, right? A lot of it is and not even profit, but like business, the need to expand, the need to grow businesses, the need to produce, the need to raise your GDP as a primary means of upping the quality of life for people in your country, right? It's a lot of times the decision is made that, hey, we gotta make what we can make, we gotta manufacture what we can manufacture, and so we gotta sacrifice our quality of life and the environment to a certain extent to be able to produce, to be able to make money. In a lot of ways, we haven't figured out how to do that in a more sustainable way.
Let's think of the worst of the worst. What is the worst outcome of climate change that you would want to face?
The worst.
Which say we've tipped the scale and now we're on the other
it's
side.
day after tomorrow.
It's the day after. It's the day after
It's
tomorrow.
the day after tomorrow.
It's the day after tomorrow.
I mean, toxic air sounds pretty
It's the day
awful,
after
dude.
tomorrow.
I'm breathing as I'm dying as I'm breathing. That's a pretty tough one. But I don't like the cold, man. Like, so that
You don't like the cold?
that tundra, that
You mean Chicago weather right now?
but Chicago weather gets better. I'm talking about Ice Age. I could not be mammoth hunting, doing all that. I can't do that. The global cooling that comes after the global warming, I ain't with that. Take me out in the warming.
Take you out of the warming?
Yeah. What about you?
Definitely fire tornadoes would be terrible.
Fire? Did you made that up?
I swear I am not making up fire tornadoes. Yo, producer, please pull up fire tornadoes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Because you're right. You win. Because I just picture you win. But I just pictured like, okay, what does death by fire tornado look like?
I'm not trying to find out is what I'm saying.
Swirling flaming death wins. That's for sure. All right.
I'm not trying to find out what look at that. That's a fire tornado.
Oh no. Yeah, take me out. All right. I know I said I wanted to be taken out in the warming. Take me out before it gets that hot.
1 degree less than fire tornado.
Yeah, word.
Is where you're trying to be. That would be the worst of it. And flooding obviously is pretty terrible. But this is the interesting thing when you say ice age, is that historically speaking, this rock that we are living on has experienced quite a few of them, right? At least 2 other moments where there was just a hard reset. A hard natural reset, right? They're saying 24,000 years ago, and then another probably 6,000 to 8,000 years ago, which is why our earliest history as people maybe starts 5,000, is around 5,000, 4,000 years, where we can actually trace things.
When man's hand wasn't too cold. I ain't writing nothing, man. I can't get my fingers out here. Y'all tripping. History can wait.
History can wait. Look at that.
Yeah, we tell each other stories. You heard what happened yesterday? It was cold.
Hands in pockets. And that's why those drawings on the caves never came out all the way proper. It's not that they couldn't do it.
They was drawing with their elbows.
They were drawing.
I ain't never going.
They were drawing with their elbows.
No doubt.
Is what was happening. So it could happen, right? It absolutely could happen.
Man, stop destroying the environment, man. Shout out to Footprint Positive, man. What's the next hit, y'all? Tattoo removal studio in London. Tattoo removal studio in London will laser off your Kanye West tattoo for free. That's actually a fire look. Oh snap!
Wait. Look at this Kanye tattoo though.
But it's accurate. But why would you want? It's chubby face Kanye.
Yo, that's
for
a
sure.
terrible tattoo, dude. I'm
What's
sorry.
wrong with that tattoo? It's a good tattoo of
No,
a
it's
bad
not. No, it's
picture
not.
of him.
No, that's a terrible tattoo. It's a good tattoo of a bad picture that makes it a bad tattoo, dude.
All right, but it's not on the artist.
That is a terrible tattoo.
So I had an idea for a Kanye tattoo. You remember this?
What was your idea?
It was actually before.
See, Kyle?
What? Yo, wow. Yeah, nah. But it was funny is it was actually kind of about Kanye starting to like have a downfall, but it was way before it got to where we at right now. It was before he was talking anything Jewish. It was like just when he was talking nonsense. It was even before slavery was a choice.
When he was ranting on stage that Jay-Z's trying to kill him?
Yeah, it was back then. Like, and I was like, man, this person who I really admired is becoming somebody who I don't really mess with. And the idea was to have in my crib, I have these 3 records, my favorite albums. I got Reasonable Doubt, I got Good Kid, Mad City, and then the third one for a long time was College Dropout, right? Just framed in the crib. But as the conversation with Kanye got more complex, I was like, all right, I'm about to take down this Ye one, put up Ready to Die with Biggie. You know what I'm saying? No, actually Life After Death with Biggie, right? But actually my brother gifted me The Cool.
Oh yeah, shout out.
Which is actually the perfect third album. Shout out to Lupe Fiasco to have in that third collection. But the idea for the tattoo would have been the 3 albums on display, and then the Kanye Bear taking down the kind of College Dropout album and like holding it over like a trash can, and then putting up the Biggie Ready to Die album.
So you're gonna have a tattoo of Kanye taking himself out,
which is exactly what happened.
Yeah. Where would you get it?
It was been probably on my back or something like that. But I don't know if I had gotten it right. Like,
you don't want a Kanye tattoo on your body right now.
You feel me? Like, it got so much worse than even when I thought like, oh, this person, I can't personally mess with him anymore.
Yeah, that would be a hard cover up.
That's
I feel so bad for anybody because I know people that have got that Kanye teddy bear sleeve.
Yeah, if you just have the generic graduation tattoo, you gotta, I don't know about that one, cuz.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one to reconcile.
But we were talking about this the other day of like, I believe your exact words were, I like the original Kanye albums too much to let Kanye ruin them for me.
Yeah, I'm not gonna let this deranged man ruin art for me. No ways. So and he's ill, man. Let me get some help. But look, as somebody with a few tattoos, everyone you gotta have a bad one. You gotta kind of go through it. You know, gotta have a few bad ones if you're about the culture. That's the culture.
As I think about that tattoo now, I don't know how I would feel about it if I had gotten it back then and I had it now, but I know for sure I can't get it now.
Definitely don't.
Deep as it might be.
And if you do, hit up London, they'll laser it off. And I hope whoever that is, I hope that the picture we see there of the tattoo gone is what happened to this one. That's terrible. Can you see?
Yeah, bro.
Let's get another one. Let's get one more.
Harvard University ranks first in anti-Semitism. Kanye must have visited.
Oh no! Oh no!
That's.
I did not know this.
Is that surprising?
I don't know.
Wait, first of all, let's back it up, Sway. Can we say that this is racist?
Yes, this is this is definitely racist.
Oh, okay, all right.
If you rank number 1 in racist diatribe, you're racist.
You're racist.
You just might be.
All right, episode 101. Symbolic. We found one racist thing.
No, don't do that to me.
Nah, I'm playing. But yeah, man, Harvard has a deep history of not being cool to First Nations and Indigenous folks. So it does not surprise me that the anti-Semitism runs deep as well.
That's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate, and it just goes to show again, like that means that there's Jewish people in that community who are affected by that. That they feel it. Because if you have to rank it, I'm sure you have to ask somebody. Which is why I think that at the very bottom of it, people are good across the board. People are good. And sometimes like the geopolitics of things kind of messes with how we view individual people. And then that becomes culture. And then now the culture of the people is identified with its geopolitical things. And I think that's unfortunate. I really do. I'm one of those people that thinks that the world can change for the better.
How? Just
So that like
it just will?
no, not and I don't say it just will. Look, I'm playing my part. I'm playing my part, and I'm hoping that everybody can play their part as a community to get to a place where we can have honest conversations.
I think I certainly haven't done the show for you for this long would question if you're doing your part. I guess my question is, in thinking that the world will get better, I think there are certain people that will do things that will make life better for other people. But I think that has to happen in a way that is organized, maybe not in structure, but around an idea. And we all have to have a vision for putting something else before our own personal gain. And that is our collective. But how do you think that idea starts to spread, right? I just think there needs to be a mechanism that calls out, like, there are things that run contrary to that idea, right? There are things that are directly in conflict with us prioritizing our collective betterment rather than our individual betterment. And I think we only get to a place where we're prioritizing our collective betterment if we can look at the things that are contrary to that and say, we got to stop doing that.
Yeah.
So I think that's the part that keeps me from going, it'll just get better. Like, I think we have to be tenacious about it. We have to be fiercely articulate about why it needs and why and how it's going to get better, because otherwise people will just go, it can never change, or just hope for better.
Yeah. Well, anti-Semitism, that's terrible. The University of Exeter that I went to is a great school. It's cool. Hassan went there, but they also had some rankings that show that it's a hostile place for people of color to be. A lot of people of color have experienced that sort of thing. So it happens in a lot of places. And the same thing with companies. Students should be demanding more from universities.
100%. And I think
We pay so much.
Word. And that's part of it, right? The endowment for Harvard, how much money gets the endowment for Harvard is?
I think it's at this point 2.3 billion.
It's got to be B's. It's
Yeah,
B's,
yeah.
billions of dollars, right?
3 billion, I think.
It's
the largest in the world.
For decades, this has been the institution that's been looked at by a lot of people to guide our intellectual thought, right? Putting out some of the most successful business people, some of the quote unquote greatest minds and thought leaders, right? Like, we look to this institution and trust it as a beacon of academic success, right? What does it mean when it's also the number one most anti-Semitic institution? You know what I mean? I think that calls us to question that foundation that we've allowed institutions like this to build us to where we are now.
Yeah. Hey,
Quick
man.
hits, boy.
Quick hits. We got it. Last section, a lot of music. People's favorite part. Producer, take us there.
What a year, man. Hip hop is one of my favorite parts of my life. Music is one of my favorite parts of my life. And one of my favorite parts of music is sharing it with people who love it as much as I do. So to get to talk about hip hop with you, our producer Hassan, that just makes the experience of listening to music so much doper. And it's been a dope experience this year.
We'll see exactly how dope when the statistics come out. So at the end of the year, we get these year-end wrap-ups. We're gonna check each other's year-end wrap-ups. let's see if we can pull some up. I'm interested. We haven't seen each other's top fives yet. We haven't seen each other's statistics yet.
Word.
You know, we're about to get vulnerable and powerful.
Yeah, word. But well, before the show, do you want any disclaimers you want to give about these statistics?
I mean, let's see them. Let's see what we got. But I've been thinking about this whole time what the top albums are for the year, right? And it's tough to put it in order, but if I have to secure 5, okay, we got a list here. This is you.
That is me.
This is Miles's top artists.
Yeah, those are my top 5 artists. My top 5 artists are 1, King Kendrick Lamar. 2, Dave East, Book of David, in stores now. Go and get that. You feel me? 3, my guy Vince Staples, Ramona Park Broke My Heart. I'm sure that's in one of my top albums. Easy to rinse, easy to keep in rotation. Freddie Gibbs, FO, you know what I'm saying? And at number 5, The Alchemist, producer, which was interesting to see on this list, right? That I just listened to so much of what he produces that he's up on the list. And then number 6, honorable mention, Bodie James. That's my guy.
That's a very hip hop playlist you got going there, buddy.
I does the hip hops on the daily basis, bro.
Very hip hop playlist you got going there. I didn't expect the Kendrick Lamar so much of that, especially with the album. So where do you put that album in your list?
I mean, artistically, as a piece of art, it's gotta be it's number 1, right? I think if you ask me what is the most artistically like the artistic pinnacle of hip hop that was created this year, I would say that album. But it's interesting to me that it's at the top of my list because I don't know if it's one of the most enjoyable listens I've had.
That's what makes it. I didn't expect it to be that high on your list either.
But I think I had to go through it a bunch of times to figure out how I felt about it, to figure out what it was trying to say, like, and to appreciate how deep he had to dig to produce that. Like, I think I've listened to it a lot, trying to take what there is to take from it. And yeah, so I mean, to me, that's fantastic art, right? If it's hard and I'm willing to subject myself to that hard process to go through it and listen to it, and I'm feeling like I'm getting something out of it, like even personally, even in examining my own shit, like that's a deep thing for music to be able to do, but not something that I would throw on any afternoon.
Let's see. I think we're gonna get mine up here. Nice. So got Westside Boogie, Kendrick Lamar 2nd, Crit, Rashad, Boldy James, Lil Baby, and Sabrina Claudio. That's very interesting. The Kendrick thing, I think it's the same thing where going through it a few times. I don't agree that that's my second most played artist. I do not agree with that whatsoever. I think that's very wrong.
Very wrong. Well, yeah. Why would it be wrong?
Because Sabrina Claudio, if anything, would be there. If we want to talk about albums that I didn't stop listening to,
Sabrina Claudio over Kendrick.
The last album, I definitely listened to it a whole lot more.
Stamp it. I think with this actually, so we're going through our Apple Music, and it captures kind of the official releases that are put on Apple Music, but anything that you listen to and add to your own library, it doesn't capture that. Also, you spend a lot of time on Spotify, so you probably have a whole different set of artists over there. But still some amazing folks on this list. Big Crit. Digital Roses Don't Die.
That was my most listened to album and song.
Word?
Yeah. I did not expect that. And I was so critical of this album too. Mm-hmm. Turns out I love it.
Turns out you love it, right? And it's interesting, right? It's interesting to think about the difference between what we're hearing a lot, what's coming up a lot. Because certain songs pop up because they're at the top of playlists, or the artist's name is first, or it was most recently downloaded for a long time. But it's interesting to see the difference between what did we really love and what resonated with us and what popped up on our feed or popped up on our phone most often.
This is more accurate, though. This is more accurate. I like this. This is definitely my list. If you're looking at the top albums, right? Crit first, Sabrina Claudio second. I said that. I said Sabrina. And then Rashad, that Black Odyssey. I don't know about that SIRE. I'm surprised that made that in there. Although that is a good album, I'm surprised that made that in there. And then Baby at 6, Vince Staples at 7. Yeah, man, that Ramona Park Broke My Heart is Such a fantastic piece of work.
Yeah, that's all over my list.
That's so much. That's such a good album.
I think, yeah, it's that one is the opposite of the Kendrick album in the sense that you can throw that on anywhere, at the crib, outside, in the whip, with your mama. It's gonna sound good no matter where you throw that on. So I definitely have that high in my rotation too. But if you had to put together your list, top 5 albums of the year, your list.
Daytona.
Pusha T, number 5 or number 1?
Pusha T's Daytona, I think, is the best album. Let's do it like this. It's Pusha T,
Okay.
Black Odyssey,
Okay.
even though it's a reprise.
Okay.
Black Odyssey, gotta put them in there. Boogie,
Okay.
Boogie, Sabrina Claudio, and then Crit.
Pusha T album of the year.
Yeah, Pusha T's.
Nice.
That's the most important. Forget anything else I said. If we just, because 4 through 5 can get complicated. Yeah, I'm smacking things off the table.
Yeah.
4 through 5 can be, that one can switch around. The Future album's really, really good. The Dirk album is great. Stuff like that. But the most important one, best album of the year for me, Pusha T, It's Almost Dry. I thought about this so much.
Really? I like that one a lot.
I think it's, and anytime I hear that album, it's such high quality drug rap. It's as good as it gets. It's as good as it gets. Because we got that Ross album, but we didn't feel it. We got that Ross album, we didn't feel it. And there's been a lot of drug rap that's been coming back, but the separation, the audio quality, the characterization, it's just too good.
Shout out Jeezy, Snowfall, some more fire gangster rap that came out really recently. It's not a bad list, man.
What you got, buddy? Let's see where you at.
So this is my Apple Music list.
This is more closely to my list, okay?
This is my Apple Music list. I have Vince Staples, Ramona Park, Broke My Heart at number 1, Most Rinsed. Number 2, I got Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, Kendrick Lamar. Number 3, I have Digital Roses, Don't Die, Big Crit. Number 4, I have Lil Durk, 7220. Number 5, It's Almost Dry by Pusha T. And yeah, I would definitely say that these are some of the albums that I've been most likely to just scroll to, throw on, put on shuffle, let it go about my day, right? So yeah, man,
It's a great list.
This is a pretty good list. But it's very different than if I had to name my top 5 albums of the year.
Really?
It's very different.
You know the interesting thing about that is if you replace Kendrick Lamar with Sabrina Claudio, I think that is my list.
Interesting.
Maybe not in that order, but in the what's there?
Yeah.
No, replace Kendrick Lamar with Westside Boogie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. If I had to give them my list for like my own personal list,
Hit me with it. What you got?
I gotta go.
Album of the year. Drum roll.
It's a hot take, but I'm going with that Book of David.
Book of
I'm
David.
going with that Book of David.
Miles.
I'm going with Book of David.
What are you saying?
That
That
Davies
just came
is
out
hard.
2 weeks ago. Miles,
Hard.
are you telling me an album that just came out 2 weeks ago is your album of the year?
I'm saying listening to that project was the most excited I've been listening to. Like, I'm talking about 10 tracks in, still excited listening to a project. That was the most exciting hip hop experience. I reserve the right to go back and pick it apart lyrically, think see what situations it works in and which ones it doesn't. But that was the most excited I was listening to hip hop all year, right? From an artist that I'm really happy with where he's taking it.
So I'm gonna have to save up some money for your bail.
For my bail.
Yeah, because you're prisoner of the moment right now.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Maybe.
Are you sure you're not being held captive by the newness of it?
No, but I think it's very good. I think it's very good.
Book of David, Miles is number 1.
Number 2,
Controversial for sure.
that number 2, Lupe, Drill Music and Zion.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that last song, go check out. I ain't gonna ruin nothing for you. Check out the last song on that album. That meant a lot to me. That Naomi is crazy. That Autobotto is crazy. That Lupe is super, super fire. Number 3, I got Westside. No. Ooh.
Steve, take your time. You already put Book of David down.
I gotta put. You hating?
Yeah.
I gotta put that Boogie up there. That No More Black Superheroes. I gotta put that Boogie up there. That's just crafted a great album, a great follow-up to Everything's for Sale. That was heat. Number 4, Joey Badass.
Yes.
2000. That album is another one where that's just the growth is amazing, incredible, beautiful. Make Me Feel is one of my favorite songs of the year. Zip Codes is another one of my favorite songs of the year. Joey Badass put together a dope project with that. And then that last spot is hard, but I think I gotta go Dirk, man. I gotta put that 7220 in there, man.
That's fantastic.
Yep.
That's the best of that kind of music.
No doubt.
That's the best of that kind of music. Look at that. Hell yeah, that's the best of that kind of music. Of course, EST. There's so much. It's been a great year for hip hop. It's been a very, very, very good year for hip hop. I wonder if we even have to run this back in a longer form. Get the visuals together for it, right? Maybe do a live listening session of some sort. I don't know.
No doubt.
I don't know. It would be great to do it.
No doubt. I mean, there's a plethora. There's no shortage of music to talk about and to celebrate. Shout out Shorty. Shout out Freddie Gibbs. Shout out J.I.D. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Kendrick, of course. Shout out to Joey Perp. Shout out to Nas.
Benny the Butcher.
Shout out to Benny.
That was my most listened to artist.
Fire.
One of, yeah.
Incredible year for music, man. It's been beautiful to talk about it, talk through it with you, with y'all. Shout out Hassan, man, keeping the visuals correct. Shout out that Saba. Yeah. And shout out y'all listeners, man. More Rec and Review to come. More listening sessions to come. It's a beautiful thing.
Hey, I got a flight to catch. I'm out of here. Mama, I'm coming home.
Yes, sir. Man, appreciate y'all for being here through all the incredible moments of this show. We do this because we know.
We know
y'all could be anywhere in the world, but y'all are here rocking with us. It's a beautiful thing. Episode 101. We coming back 102, hitting y'all over the head with more crispy audio, dope visuals, and carefully curated content for your cranium. Make sure you go home and eat something delicious. Hug somebody you love like that. Peace, water, we gone.
Yeah, I get that, but is we